Why you should never reveal everything. The illusion of transparency.
We live in the age of exhibition. It's said that transparency is a virtue, that sharing our lives, our plans, and our hearts is the way to connect. But history tells a different story, a story of shadows.
In the 17th century, a Spanish Jesuit named Baltasar Gracián watched empires fall and kings betray. He realized a terrible truth. To be understood is to be conquered. When you show the world exactly who you are, you give them a map of your own downfall. You become a predictable machine. Today, we move away from the noise. We enter the mind of the man who taught the world the most dangerous art, the art of becoming invisible. The depth of the unknown. Gracián's first rule is simple yet lethal. Keep people in uncertainty. Think of a deck of cards. The moment the cards are dealt face up, the game is over. There is no tension, no strategy, no power. Your life is the same. Most people speak because they fear silence. They reveal their next move because they want validation. What kind of strategy should you have? Never let them see the limits of your knowledge or resources. When people know the limits of your knowledge or resources, they no longer respect you. They calculate you. Let me explain with an example. Consider the silent authority of a great commander. He doesn't explain every order. He doesn't share his doubts. By remaining an enigma, he forces his enemies to imagine a power far greater than he actually possesses. Imagination is your greatest ally. Let the fear they feel of what you are capable of protect you from what they want to do. The fatal mistake of shining too bright.
There is a hunger in us to be seen as the smartest person in the room. Napoleon Hill called it the ego. Gracián called it a death warrant.
Rule: avoid outshining the master. But this goes deeper than just your boss. It applies to your friends, your rivals, and your partners. When you flaunt your superiority, you are not winning. You are painting a target on your back.
The historical warning. In 1661, Nicolas Fouquet, the finance minister of France, threw the most magnificent party in history to impress King Louis XIV. He showed off his wealth, his art, and his brilliance. 3 weeks later, he was arrested and spent the rest of his life in a dark cell. He made the king feel small. The lesson. True power is quiet. It is the architect who stays behind the curtain while the building rises. If you want to move mountains, do it while the world thinks you are just a pebble. Subtlety is the ultimate shield. The anatomy of the human trigger mechanism is essentially a mental discipline aimed at understanding the invisible map of human behavior. Baltasar Gracián's concept of the virtual weak point suggests that every person carries a hidden vulnerability, an internal fracture that may not be visible from the outside, but reacts strongly when touched in the right place. For some, this is pride. For others, the need for approval. And for many, the deep fear of being exposed. While people often present their strengths, they are in fact trying to protect these fragile areas. Paradoxically, the things they talk about most passionately often reveal where these vulnerabilities lie. At this point, real power lies not in speaking, but in observing. As people express themselves, they unconsciously reveal the blueprint of their inner world. When you reduce how much you talk and increase how much you listen, you begin to analyze not only words, but also tone, recurring themes, defense mechanisms, and emotional reactions. Step by step, you uncover what the other person values, fears, and reacts to most strongly. This process is not manipulation, but an exercise in awareness, because without truly understanding a person, it is impossible to influence them meaningfully. From a tactical perspective, the most critical step is identifying a person's idols, the things they deeply value. Money, status, respect, love, or power. Every individual is devoted to something, and that devotion becomes the compass of their behavior. Once you understand this compass, the pathways to influence become clear. However, there is a fine line. This knowledge should be used constructively, not destructively. True mastery lies not in exploiting someone's weakness to bring them down, but in understanding it to navigate both your own path and theirs more consciously. Moving safely through life's minefield is not about controlling others, but about learning to read human nature with clarity and wisdom.
The sovereignty of power is at its core a call to awareness that challenges the illusion between visibility and strength. Being invisible is not weakness, as most people assume. It is strategic untouchability. Baltasar Gracián did not write for the masses seeking applause. He wrote for those who aim to become masters of their own minds. True power does not lie in attracting attention, but in knowing when to withdraw, when to conceal oneself, and when to wait for the right moment. Noise is often a defense mechanism. Silence, on the other hand, is frequently a sign of control and awareness. In any room, the person who speaks the most is often the one who feels the strongest need to prove themselves. That need exposes their greatest vulnerability. Meanwhile, the quiet one, the observer, the listener, the one who does not reveal themselves, is the one who understands the game. And that is where real danger lies. Because that person does not simply speak. They analyze, measure, and act at the right time. This is why those who truly hold power often go unnoticed, yet their influence is deep and lasting.
Now, look at your own life through this lens. What did you reveal today that should have remained in the shadows? For a moment of attention, what part of yourself did you give away? In exchange for approval, what plans, emotions, or truths did you expose too early? In a world obsessed with visibility, people exhaust themselves trying to be seen. Yet strategic discretion is the foundation of long-term power. In an age where everything is shared, knowing what to withhold becomes a rare and valuable advantage. Remember, the tiger does not announce its arrival. It only reveals its victory. It moves in silence, unseen, but when the moment comes, the outcome is inevitable. True mastery is not about knowing when to speak, but knowing when to remain silent. Control your mind, protect your mystery, and never reveal everything. This is the sovereignty of power, and for those who seek to master themselves, the journey has only just begun.